It's October, the spookiest month, and that means videos about spooky things. Of course, this channel always gets a little spooky every month with the Goosebumps Monthly, my reading and review of R.L. Stine's original 62 children's horror books, and if you've been following that series, you'll know that A, I wasn't much of a Goosebumps reader back in the day. I was the right age for it just never appealed to me. And B, as an adult well into their 30s, I do not care for the Goosebumps books as a whole. A few individual books are better than others, but Goosebumps as an entity feels grossly low effort. But that's the books. Goosebumps and other mediums have a somewhat better track record with me. I quite liked the 2015 film. It was a little too self-congratulatory, but it scratched an itch for some high-camp, kid-friendly Halloween fun that we hadn't really seen since Hocus Pocus. And I was surprised how much I enjoyed the 1996 full-motion video adventure game Escape from Horrorland, which managed to be quite moody, rewarded exploration, and cast Jeff Goldblum as Count Dracula, which is just amazing.
Hey, stay away from me, nitwit.
The main reason I think these projects are so much better than their book counterparts is, well, people besides Stine were creatively involved. If you watch the Goosebumps Monthlies, you know I often include little rewrites of the book at the end to make the point that there are seeds of good ideas in R.L. Stine's work. Stine has just never been the best at cultivating those seeds. You give those seeds to someone else, you could get something really fun, something really creepy, and something really memorable. Of course, in all this time, I have been ignoring the main piece of Goosebumps cross-media, the Goosebumps television show. Running for 74 episodes over 4 seasons between 1995 and 1998, Goosebumps the TV show was a Canadian-American co-production, airing on Fox Kids here in the States and on YTV up north. Like the books, I largely avoided the show, though in this case it was because I had chosen Nickelodeon's Are You Afraid of the Dark as my children's horror television show of choice. And in a world of Coke versus Pepsi or Super Nintendo versus Sega Genesis, picking a brand and being loyal to it was seen as a virtue when you're 7 years old. But now that we're more than 2/3 of the way through the books, I feel it was a good time to give this series a proper, critical look. We're not going to be completionists about this, but for October, I'll be talking about a handful of 2-parters, and even a 3-parter, as per request. Since I've already reviewed the books most of these episodes are based on, there won't be much in the way of plot summaries, but instead a discussion on how the books were translated to the screen, and how effective they are as both adaptations and as standalone pieces of youth horror. Naturally, we start at the beginning with the very first episode, The Haunted Mask, which premiered on Fox as an hour-long special on October 27th, 1995, later edited into 2 parts for subsequent reruns. It makes a lot of sense to make The Haunted Mask the premiere. It was among the best-selling books in the original line, it was a personal favorite of R.L. Stine's, its Halloween setting made it ideal for a seasonal premiere, and its premise didn't require an exceptional amount of costly special effects, though there are a few. Of course, there are many inherent limitations to live-action network television, all of which show their heads here. Low budgets, cheaper production values, way too fast shooting schedules, the limited range of child actors, and the accommodations that rightfully need to be made for them on set. But if you get enough talented people to work on it, you have a good shot at spinning straw into gold. Talented people like, say, director Timothy Bond, who had extensive experience with television horror, directing for shows like the 80s version of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Friday the 13th, the series, The Hitchhiker, Forever Night, and the 90s version of The Outer Limits. Or how about having the book adapted to the screen by screenwriter and playwright Jose Rivera, who would go on to be nominated for an Academy Award for the 2004 film The Motorcycle Diaries. So how well did it all work for The Haunted Mask? It's pretty good. The main advantage in taking the story into a visual medium is atmosphere. Most of the episode takes place at night, and the deep blacks of exterior shots and the heavy shadows of interior shots make this a total watch with the lights off kind of piece. It's further emphasized by the moody soundtrack composed by Jack Lenz. It really makes those chapter-ending cliffhangers over something silly really come to life. And then there's the cast. Carly Beth is played by Catherine Long, and while there does seem to be an unavoidable cap on acting talent for child actors, one cannot deny Long's eagerness for the role. There's a scene involving Steve and Chuck, Carly Beth's bullies, slipping a worm into her sandwich, and Long insisted on getting a real reaction. It was a real worm, and I bit into it. I didn't swallow it, though. I remember going, if it's not real, I'm not gonna gag. It would look so much better and realistic if I actually bit into it. They just said, here, do your own stunts, eat your worm.
What's wrong, Carly Beth? Oh, it's a worm!
I wouldn't say that this was a wise or sanitary decision for the production to make, but that energy really comes across through the entirety of Catherine Long's performance. Her Carly Beth is a girl who is easily frightened, something that her bullies take advantage of to torment her. But she is also thrilled by spooky stuff, intrigued by the prospect of being able to wield it herself. The episode begins with Carly Beth and her friend Sabrina discovering the Halloween shop, and as Carly Beth looks at the creepy mask in the window, she's equal parts frightened and entranced.
Wow. Pretty scary, huh? Yeah. Come on, let's go. Carly Beth. Huh? Oh.
Catherine Long is eager to seem scared, so Carly Beth comes off as both eager and scared at the same time. Incidentally, because I know people will say something in the comments if I don't say it, Sabrina here is played by Catherine Short. Catherine Long and Catherine Short. You can't make this stuff up. As for the script, the main change from the source material was a new origin story for the titular haunted masks, the Unloved. In the book, they're the result of mad science gone wrong. Here, they're more directly metaphorical.
I was like you. I did not love myself. I made these faces to hide behind them, to hide my faults. But the faults were inside me. That's what infected the faces, turned them into monsters. Like this one is turning now. Very soon it will join the other failures on the shelf.
It's basically a spooky Halloween version of that one Roald Dahl piece about how physical appearance isn't what makes us ugly. It's the despicable thoughts we have. Carly Beth hates her wimpy, demure self. She wants the power her bullies have over her. So she puts on the mask, puts on the costume of a bully for Halloween, but it goes beyond getting back at a few boys that totally deserve it. Carly Beth ends up on a power trip that results in her hurting her friends and even just random strangers. And that's when the mask refuses to come off. To defeat the evil, she has to do something the shopkeep finds too difficult. She has to accept herself, love herself, even if that self is easily frightened and easy to pick on. The script concentrates and refines the theming of the original story, and I think it's successful in doing so. So what doesn't work in this episode? Somehow it's always Stein's fault. For a handful of episodes, the Goosebumps TV show has R.L. Stine himself introduce the story, a sort of Ron Serling or Alfred Hitchcock thing. The problem is that Stine isn't a performer and has virtually no on-screen charisma.
The horror begins when Carly Beth puts on the evil haunted mask, and it ends when she discovers there is nothing more powerful than the love of her family and friends. What's so scary about that? You'll see. Viewers beware, you're in for a scare.
I suppose we lucked out that Stephen King turned out to be such a decent camp actor. And sure, the visual effects became dated pretty quickly, though I quite like the design of the masks themselves. I like how the main mask always looks a little wet, sells the idea that this might be actual skin of some sort. This was about the best outcome you could hope for the first episode of a Goosebumps television show. Effective atmosphere, a good cast, and a solid adaptation of the source material promises some decent children's horror television for years to come. Maybe. This is only the beginning of our journey in this show. Next time, we'll see what the show is like once it got into its groove with Stay Out of the Basement.